welcome to EastEnders Weekly Extra Year Review 2018. We're here to analyse and reminisce about the past year we just witnessed.
Yes, only 2018, so we're not including January of what's just passed. It's only 2018. You could say we're a bit late, but what Ben has forgot to mention is this is actually our 1 year anniversary of the show too.
I know, can you believe it?
I know. So we're going to do it on our anniversary every year. We're going to do a review of the year past.
When our annual fees are due.
Yes, give me your money. We need the money.
I feel like baby Annie. Right, so we're going to break down the year into sort of 3 month sections. And remember some past storylines which were good, some were bad.
Some we liked, some we didn't like quite so much. Some we downright hated.
We did. And this is John Yorke's year. He was in charge this year. So January to March, a few things happened over this. R.I.P. our favourite, Abi Branning.
I mean, we didn't get over that for months.
No,
Again,
this is the end of it now.
If you listen to our very early episodes of the podcast, we did go on about it for quite a while.
I'm still not over it.
Devastated.
Lorna Fitzgerald, we're waiting for a reply. So if Abi died, we had Aidan, who was selling drugs in the Vic. Big Mo returned.
Yes,
and
with a big story to follow. And
there was a death as well. So there's a few things going on. So we're just going to go through and pick up a few ups and downs of the year. So, I mean, where do you want to start? Do you want to start on a positive or a negative?
So, I think we'll start which we kind of touched on, which was Aidan, where obviously they had the heist in December, and it was kind of a means in the end. And then in January they just kind of tried to carry it forward, just so there was a kind of conclusion to it.
Try to make Aidan evil.
Yeah, really quickly, really short space of time. Again, Mick was involved, because if there's an evil character on the square, we've learnt this, or we learnt last year that Mick is always the one in the centre of it. And it was, as I say, it was a way of ending it, a way of ending a pretty scary, let's call it the Dagmar storyline, and just kind of putting a line underneath of pretty bad 2017.
Gave us halfway though.
It did. It brought Halfway,
nice.
Who shot Mick, and it also brought us Arshad and Miriam.
Yep. Who
Miriam helped her out. It was the first time she'd ever been in the pub, or a pub.
That's right.
Yes.
That's a nurse. One of my lows, which is sticking out like a sore thumb right here, is the Somoza storyline, the start of the Somoza storyline, which went on for too long.
Well, I mean, this was the beginning of also the Ian and Masood feud.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it started in January, we're still talking about it now. And so it's been over I mean, this is the longest running storyline I think they've had since the John Yorke era.
Oh, just awful. Obviously we need to touch upon lovely Abi, because she had her funeral.
She did.
Her life support was switched off.
And they did that charming end scene where it was the episode ended exactly at 8:02, wasn't it? Which was the time she was
8:32, which was the time she was born.
Yeah,
and like real life time, it was 8:32 as well.
So the episode overran, and they all had a drink on Abi.
Abby, that was Dot's last appearance as well until October.
Oh, until she came back for Dr. Legg. So she's been gone all year too. She's been busy going to rehab camps and trying to stop smoking.
And we had some returns. We had Mel return in January. We had Hayley's first ever appearance in February.
Oh yes, that's when she was stalking Martin.
Yes, who we didn't know if she was a Slater or not.
No.
Mitch's first appearance was in March.
Wow, really? It was that long?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
He was there before Stuart, which is really weird.
That really surprises me.
And March was also when Big Mo returned and she pretended Cat was dead.
Yes.
We all love those episodes. And beloved Joyce passed away in March.
Oh, this is when Ted came to his own, and again they played some song in the pub, and he raised a glass to her. Everyone was drinking to people dying.
She died in March, and then August was her secret letter storyline.
Oh, hang on, Ben, reel yourself in. But we'll get to that.
5 months apart that was.
Well, I mean, Ted was busy for a long time.
5 months of chess.
Yes, that was the story he was busy with.
So yeah, I mean, this was the sort of 3 months where all the changes were happening that John Yorke has sort of introduced, because he put Karen into the laundrette and reopened the laundrette. So he was making his changes. He brought back Mel and Hunter and things like that. So.
Oh yeah, Mel came back. So again, Mel had a good long story then, I suppose, because we didn't really know about Ray until a bit later. But I suppose that was always the build up to that point.
We think, although it slightly might have changed a little bit.
Maybe.
If you try and look back. So the next block of months we're talking about is April, May and June.
I mean, the few highlights that come to mind very quickly was that E20 reopened, the Aubergine Bar.
Oh, yes.
Rainey and Max made a surprise reappearance, and you found out they were married.
Who is he marrying?
Yeah, that was mad.
And they showed her face, and everyone online was like, "Who's she?"
I know.
It's meant to be a big reveal.
I know. I was really upset by that because I loved Rainey. I've always liked Rainey, and I was so glad that they introduced her. Or reintroduced her. And some of the big storylines was obviously in May was the Shaquille stabbing storyline, and also Stuart's appearance, his first appearance, and then his paedophile hunting began from this point onwards as well.
It seems like such a long time ago.
It really does. It doesn't feel quite right, but yeah. So 6-7 months ago was Stuart's first appearance. Well, more than that. Sorry, 9 months ago.
Yeah, and we also had Woody return.
Oh, I forgot about
brief.
Woody. Yes. Well, he was meant to be a full-time return, and then he mucked up the whole process and decided to come rejoin his band Blue. But from the impression we got at the time, it wasn't particularly a sore loss by a lot of people. I think they were pleased.
Halfway had already replaced him in everyone's hearts.
Yeah, and it was silly that he had this competitiveness with Billy as well. It just felt really out.
Good.
Yeah,
not good at all. So yeah, I mean, we had the surprise wedding with Max and Rainey. Which is still an ongoing. Nothing's really happened much since.
Nothing's
April.
really developed. Rainey kind of starts doing the drugs and this. Although it was nice that Robbie had something to do because he witnessed the wedding. So he took an hour off his sweeping job in order to witness his uncle's wedding.
And this is when Max, it was his first time back. He had like a bit of a break, about 6 months from the Wilmot Brown storyline. But he was back a bit too early, I think. Like for everyone to forget everything he did. It was a bit too early, I think.
I mean, Max has his fans out there, and they're, they're very resilient to Max's actions. But I agree with you, and again, we talked about it a lot at the time, that really you're meant to forgive Max, even though he, had killed one person, attempted to kill Jane, then got rid of Jane through a blackmail technique, and then you're meant to feel a bit sorry for him because he wants to, become the saviour of the day and look after baby Abby after he, kind of Abby had died, and it seemed too loose.
I still feel now that he's unredeemable. I know Jake would keep saying, I think he can be redeemed, but I just don't think he can.
I mean, when he came back in that story as well, he was being overly polite and overly nice, and it was only because it was his scheme in order to get baby Abby. So again, he came back not with any kind of true intention to be one of the community and one of the family. He came back with quite a selfish intention of that he wanted to adopt his daughter's daughter.
And like I say, it was like every other month they appeared, had baby Abby, and that went on until like October.
Yeah.
And then we're still sort of like, oh, it's just been her first birthday. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
so
nothing's really resolved.
I mean, we said goodbye to Vincent as well in April.
Oh yes, presumed dead. Presumed dead.
So yeah,
I'm adamant he's still alive. There's been a few theories thrown around that he's been crushed in a car crusher.
No, Ronnie didn't have anything to do with it. That's Ronnie's trick, that is. He did 2 bodies. So should we talk about the Shaquille storyline? Because obviously that was one of the biggest ones of the whole year, really. That was like John York's big storyline of the year.
Yes. I mean, people felt that it had been rushed somewhat, that it was almost pushed upon the public to almost have some kind of feeling toward it. And I mean, yes, there could have been a bit of a better build-up, admittedly.
That's the problem, because Shaquille didn't appear. He appeared in 2 episodes from the whole year.
Yeah, and then when just before they had this big story, they kind of introduced him to do little silly stories, like he got girls to come over to his house with Keegan. They had a drink and put on this cheap perfume, and then Bex suddenly realised that she did love Shaquille. Yeah, and so it just didn't feel. It felt slightly forced, and in retrospect, I must say it did feel a little bit like that. But
it was still very good though. Watching the actual episode of where it all happened and things.
I mean, the powerhouse in the whole story, and I will say this to the cows come home, was Bonnie Langford. I mean, Carmel, the character and the performance was fantastic, and I think she did it.
And Keegan,
fantastic, yeah. And Kush, actually, I thought Kush was excellent too. I think that it was a proper ensemble task there, and it needed to be, but it just had some elements that they pulled off perfectly and some elements they didn't quite pull off 100%. But again, it was done as almost like an information film in some senses, that they were kind of, because it was a hot topic at the moment.
There's a few of them this year, like the consent episode. It was like a public information film.
It did,
I don't know, a little bit
like that.
But
I thought a lot of people said it was deliberately done to pull your heartstrings, somewhat. But I thought the funeral episode, when all the victims were stood around in the graveyard with the photos of the children that they had lost, I still think that was really powerful and a really interesting episode to film and portray.
That was in July, and that was quite a few big things. So if we go on to like July, August, September, we had the Shaquille funeral episode. We have Tina's torturer reveal when she went to the disco.
Oh yeah,
getting ready for the disco. Donna leaves our lives.
Thanks to Rainey.
Donna kebab.
Don't ever talk about that scene.
As I mentioned before, we had Joyce's treasure hunt. And Adam the dentist arrived in August.
Ooh. And not done anything
again,
since.
Yeah, there's like it's very odd. And then we also had the Who Shot Stuart storyline, and Ray came in as well. So there's lots of things. It's sort of like, because John York was originally there for 6 months, and then it got extended to a year.
Yes.
So like, if you break it into like 6 months, things like this, you can really see like, oh, all of a sudden new stories are being introduced.
I mean, yeah, this was so at the end of June, it felt like the stories kind of had been wrapped up, and as you say, then June and July and August, it kind of then new stories started to be
plan the second half of the year.
Yeah, this is where I actually thought that EastEnders as a soap started to find its stride again. It started to be a bit more confident about itself. It was around about this time also where the announcement had been made that Kate Oates was going to become the executive producer, and it was like the feeling of injection in it. It started to feel like it was getting somewhere again.
And then you had the prison scenes.
But no, I know, and that was another wasted opportunity. I mean, I was going to say that was one of my really low points of the year, not even in just that period.
There's lots of moments through the year where you think, oh, this is going to be a big storyline, and then it like just disappears, like the prison thing. Like they spent like a good week and a half with loads of characters in there and different stories for all the prisoners, and then you just don't hear anything.
Yeah, they did one story with it, which was Mick getting into trouble with Frasier, yeah. And that was it. And we were really excited about that storyline too. We kept giving it comparisons to Dirty Den when he went to Dickens Hill, and they kind of shot almost 3 months worth of footage, and we really thought there was going to be a real in-depth look into Mick in prison, and it might work out quite nicely. And then it was just wasted. It was like a week, a week of him in prison.
Really strange.
Really, really odd.
Like they built that whole set and everything, and like nothing happened of it.
Well, the set that looked like a school, and like every time they went to the canteen,
like
it looked like a school canteen, and I'm sure they filmed it like in the summer of colleges being out or something.
We also had the storyline of Hayley being pregnant as well. Around here is when Jean finds out that she's pregnant, and we also have Shianu begin.
Oh, I mean, this is it. This is the pinnacle of the year. This was when Shianu
because we had those few storylines with Dennis was getting involved in Jagger and things before Tiffany was involved, and that's when Sharon got her trainers on, and she had those few scenes with Keanu, didn't she? When everyone was like, "Oh, there's chemistry here," which no one ever really thought of because they talked to each other in that car.
Well, that was a good scene, when she stole the car.
Yeah.
And Phil told her to bring it back, and and you saw this old Sharon back, this kind of vigour back in Sharon.
And then obviously her plumbing got stuck, and Keanu got under the sink and got his shirt wet, and from there
that was it. She didn't know where to look.
On it.
Well, yeah, and Sharon didn't know where to look, what to do. I mean, another big story we can't be amiss to mentioning is obviously the Who Shot Stuart storyline, because this is where the Stuart Mick the Carters
potentially a big who done it. And on the episode they did this big police crime investigation, and they showed the police station with all the things on the wall of them with who did this and where this person was whereabouts and all the interviews, and we thought, oh, they're taking this seriously, and then nothing really came of it.
It fizzled out to nothing again, and the solution was that Stuart shot himself,
which still doesn't really make sense.
And I was about to say, when you discovered it, you didn't believe it. I remember you were like, "That's not the right answer, is it?" And I was like,
"Yeah." I'm still sure it's Whitney. Whitney was acting really suspiciously.
Whitney was proper suspicious, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And so was Tina. And so you kind of thought it was being focused toward them, and it would have made sense then for Mick to kind of protect his, sister and his family, but no. He shot himself, and obviously later in the year, then Linda's plan comes into the story where she tries to get Stuart to reveal. Quickly go back to some people, this might be a high, but to many others, this was a real deep low, and this is Joyce's treasure hunt. This is where Joyce not knowing that she was about to die, had planned
5 months ago.
had planned this incredibly elaborate treasure hunt. She got Patrick in on it. She got Bernie in on it.
Yeah.
And she just kind of
left notes
for
Ted. When the time's right, tell him about this.
Yeah, and at the end, basically at the end, he had a ticket to Australia, which was apparently very open-ended. I mean, they had no money, and yet Joyce was able to afford an open-ended ticket to Australia.
It made no sense.
It was really daft.
It's just ridiculous.
I mean, the whole Ted and Joyce, and I think most people who listen to the podcast will know, they don't really work for us, or for me certainly. And I mean, when Ted was walking around with a thermos of Joyce, and he then sprinkled it on the cabbages because Joyce would like that.
I know the place. She'd lived in Wolf for like a few months.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time I thought, why don't they go back like on top of the tower and like spread her ashes on top of there? I don't know, something like that with the Taylors, because the Taylors used to live there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it was just really abnormal. And to be fair, after that treasure hunt, we haven't seen a sight of Ted at all.
He's been living it, living his best life, touring the UK in a vintage car.
Yes.
So we have the last 3 months of the year, which is October, November, December.
And there was a few highlights in this year, wasn't there? There was Linda and her plan, as I mentioned.
The two-hander.
Yeah. Jean works out who is the dad to Hayley's baby. There's obviously the cat and the rewriting of her father, Charlie.
Oh yeah, that's a low.
and of course the great Christmas episode, including the choir.
Yes, we also had Dot back.
Yes,
and Dr. Legg, the original character.
That was a real high for me. I really enjoyed that.
That was nice. We were really desperate by then for things. August and September was quite difficult. But yeah, we had the two-hander with Linda and Stuart, which I wasn't really particularly looking forward to, but actually it was a real good episode.
The Linda, yes, absolutely, 100%. Again, it was you had to suspend your belief somewhat that she recorded the whole thing in her hair.
I worked it out.
You did
before it happened.
I remember. You were.
I knew that Linda's hair bun is an iconic moment of the character. I noticed these things.
Plugged in that MP3 player straight into the computer. Had the whole confession on tape.
Yeah, so we had Ruby return after like 11 years off the square.
Oh yes,
which no one wanted.
But then she did have a decent storyline, a good storyline, which was the consent story, which is still happening, although seems to be slightly brushed under the carpet somewhat now.
Yeah, it's still kind of going.
So with Ruby's return, obviously a character had to go, and unfortunately we lost Carmel, who left without Julia's theme, which was an absolute crime.
And it was filmed the way it looked like it did have it, but then they changed it and gave it to Hayley, because they randomly showed fireworks and then went to the next day. It was really weird.
And Hayley putting the child in front of the Ahmed's again. If you look on YouTube, you can actually watch the Carmel's exit with Julia's theme. Someone has edited it, and it works perfectly.
Really good.
It works really well.
Yeah, it's a shame. We also had the episode which was based solely in the Vic as well, which was like another one of John York's, like
iconic
the Shaquille funeral episode. It was a bit different, and this one was a bit different with all the characters in the Vic, which we hadn't seen all year.
No, there was a lot of one shots, wasn't there? There was like a lot of continuous shots. So when a conversation ended in one part of the bar, the camera, instead of cutting it, the camera would move, follow like someone walking across the bar, and then go to another conversation. I mean, the filming of it was fantastic, and I thought it was quite a powerful episode. Again,
it was good. It was just a shame that they couldn't keep up with that.
The momentum kind of just they had, but there's the same with the Christmas episode. The momentum was so high with the Christmas episode, Christmas Day episode. Everyone said it was
really
the best Christmas Day episode they've had in years.
But the repercussions of it are just non-existent.
I know.
Like if you turn into EastEnders this week, you wouldn't even known any of that happened.
Well, Alfie's not even there anymore. No. Just kind of forgotten.
They've just all forgiven Hayley.
Hayley and Kat are like best friends now. Yeah.
It's just really bizarre.
Nothing has come of it at
really
all.
Weird.
Real shame.
The only thing I can work out is maybe Kate thought, no, I don't want to go that direction. And she kind of changed it. I don't know. She must have, because at one minute they were just standing over Alfie's body and Kat was like saying goodbye to him and putting a blanket over him, and Stacey was there ready to lie to the police, and then nothing happened. Like literally nothing. Like Alfie didn't even have a bad head or anything. I don't know. It was just
Well,
really...
he was bleeding. He did have a bleeding head, but again, it was
with a baseball cap on it. And then he went in that
hit it with a
car
baseball
and
cap,
took the baby with just like with a busted up car. Just yeah.
We've got passports from Phil. I mean, that was the other odd thing. Like Phil's involvement all of a sudden, it just was really disjointed after such a boom on Christmas Day. I mean, everyone was
Boxing
so excited.
Day was so bad.
Boxing Day was terrible. I mean, everyone tuned in excited, thinking, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be the Carry On the Christmas Day episode." And literally the first 5 minutes, when it just felt bad,
awful. So we talk about quickly about Kat's hit and run and weird like change of her past, about how Charlie may have known about Harry.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, a lot of people got very angry at the fact that they were retrospectively changing that Charlie must have known that Kat had been raped by his brother or her uncle, and it just really ruined the character of Charlie.
I mean, we found out like basically straight away that wasn't true. Kind of.
Well, yeah, but then that was done.
But you'll
really...
never know because everyone's dead. Who would know?
Well, apart from the guy who mouthed off and said the guy from. I think
but then you don't know if Alfie paid him to say that to make Kat feel better. Like it's just this really weird.
Well, this is what I mean. He kind of just turned up, and Alfie said, "Oh, he's got something to say to you," and he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I was a bit drunk.
Yeah, I made it up. So I was mean. It's like what?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to hurt you because you said something really nasty about me.
Yeah, it's like they did that whole thing to make Kat go off the rails to then do a hit and run.
But then she had a hit and run.
But then that hit and run didn't lead to anything.
No, the repercussion of that was the couple coming into the cafe and, "Oh, it's you! You hit my husband!" And it's like nothing came of it. Again, the Slaters seem to be like Teflon. They just kind of do something. They almost murder someone twice. Lots of things happen to them.
It's like
and
when
they
Big
just don't
Mo
seem to
came
get away
back
with it.
and there was that weird like gangster woman after Big Mo.
Yeah.
And then nothing came of it.
Well, they gave her the money, didn't they? And most recently, that Kat owes Phil money, but that seems to have just been forgotten. So the Slaters, we should start calling them the Teflon sisters because they just seem to get away with everything and anything.
Yeah.
It seems a bit nuts.
But we had Ray and Mel's wedding, which ended Ray's stint.
It did, but I mean, that was New Year's Eve, so we can't talk about the following story until our
but
next.
It was good, though. Like, the New Year's was better than Christmas, I think.
Oh, yeah, it was great. But because it was a double whammy, a good New Year's Eve episode, and then a good New Year's Day episode. And it was really fun, the New Year's Day episode as well. I mean, although the choir was a bit silly, it was nice to have a bit of... EastEnders tends to have a habit of doing a really kind of peaceful, tranquil Christmas Eve episode. So Phil helps Kim give birth to her child in the Minute Maid.
That was good.
That
was
it was
one
fantastic.
of Phil's best moments of the year.
Because he did
quite
comedy.
A quiet year for Phil.
Yeah, but the comedic side of Steve McFadden really shone there. And then they had the choir, and so it was the calm before the storm. And it was that really nice scene when Kat and Alfie kind of embrace, like hug each other before Alfie goes off, and then the fireworks began at the Slater household. But I mean, it was a year of things being like with good intentions, but executed and followed up really poorly. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give the year a grade, let's try that out. What grade would you give it? We're doing it the old system, not the new.
This is our first year doing this, you see. Yeah. So
this is like the ABCD system, not the new numbered system that they have in schools.
I'll give it C-.
Oh, that
or
low?
Maybe a D+.
Really? That's really low. I mean,
I've got nothing to compare it to yet.
I know, but like at the beginning of the year,
and I did enjoy 2017, even though I made fun of it the whole year. Like thinking back, I remember more of that, like more fondly.
Right.
I guess.
I mean,
plus Abi died, so
I guess that was an immediate downgrade.
Although Lauren left, so that's good.
Ooh, that's controversial. At the beginning of the year, I would agree with you. I'd say a C-, but actually, by the end of the year, I thought it improved, so I would give it a C+. So again, I wouldn't say it was amazingly
so my C-
perfect.
isn't that low then. Yours is C+.
It's lower than mine. Mine's a C+. I'd say for the whole year. And as you said, it was an establishing year. And it did feel like it was a bit of a we're kind of plodding along and just giving a few stories here and there just until something more concrete happens. And so this year, 2019, should be a good year.
Yes, it should be. What was your top moment of the whole year?
My very top moment?
Yeah.
Probably, to be fair, because I wasn't really looking forward to it, and then when it happened, I actually did enjoy it a lot more. Kat's return. I'm surprised by how much I enjoyed
the return
that.
episode, when she actually returned, she went to her own funeral. That's probably the best episode of the year.
Yeah.
It was really well written. It was funny. Mo pretended to die in front of everyone, and then Vic had like a fight. It probably was like the best episode of the year. I mean, my favourite storyline, I can't believe you've missed this, so I'm stealing this.
Go on then.
Shianu.
Oh yeah, but that's a given. I think everyone knows my love for Shianu.
Okay, Sonia booking a cottage with Martin.
But no, jokes aside, again, I didn't hate that story, especially when Sonia discovered that she was basically fighting a losing battle and she wasn't going to get Martin.
But
and she
Sonia's
had
meant to be a lesbian, so it's kind of weird.
Well, no, Sonia.
That's another thing that's been missing this year. Sonia's now straight and Tina's slept with 2 men.
That's true. But then again, 2019 is the LGBT year of EastEnders.
And one of my worst things of the year is all the weird guest characters we had. We haven't really mentioned them because they were so random.
No.
But there was like the 2 that had a baby with the Ahmeds and stole the baby.
Oh, yeah.
We had Zaza's friend who appeared at the Vic and gave birth in the Vic with Tina and then disappeared.
Yeah, I always forget that she was in it.
There was loads of like weird, like Jagger was kind of a guest one because he's now disappeared. So there's loads of these weird guest appearances of characters we don't really... Like Rat. Like, spent the whole week with Rat.
Well, yeah, no, Rat was... Yeah, I know what you're saying. But
there's a lot of, like... You could just have, like, Honey and Adam having a storyline or...
to make the space up that they're trying to do.
So that was a bit for me.
I think my low point, and we mentioned it right at the top of the episode, was basically anything that was Masood and Ian Beale.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Masood's character, and it's such a shame they squandered him when they've had him
When he
return.
left last time, it was... Like, he got Julie's theme.
Yeah.
So why come back?
I mean, when he left last time, that was annoying too, because he kind of left, came back, and kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then when they said that he was coming back for a bit more time, I thought, at first I was a bit disappointed, but then my disappointment was founded because they kind of partnered it up with Ian. And again,
Ian had a rubbish year, didn't he?
Ian had a terrible year, and they were meant to obviously be like the comedy for kind of their conflict was meant to be funny to us, and it never felt funny.
No.
It just felt forced.
Yeah, it was awful. And I hate the excuse they've given, like they brought Masood back to bring in the sisters, and it's like that doesn't make any sense.
No, that's very much an afterthought. It was very much an afterthought.
It's like they didn't bring Masood to build up the Ahmeds and then him to leave. It's like, no, you didn't.
No.
You brought him back and didn't have anything to give him. Like a few people he did that to this year.
They just wanted to bring back familiar characters. That's why a lot of characters returned.
Yeah.
He just wanted to bring some familiar... It's a very quick and easy way of bringing back a show. Just bring back characters that you're familiar with.
Mixed year this year. But we've also got something exciting for next year's
Yes, so if
show.
In 12 months we'll be discovering what Ben and I both thought was going to be the big stories or developments of the Square in 2019.
Some predictions.
Yes, so we've both written out 5 predictions each, and we've stored them in an envelope. And we're not telling each other what they are. And then next year, when we're doing our roundup of our EastEnders Weekly Podcast Extra again, we will open those envelopes and see who scored the most points,
if any.
I'm pretty confident with 2. So yes, so stay tuned for us in 2020.
But yeah, mixed year. So Only Way is up,
as Yaz and the cast of Only Way is Essex would say.
There you go.
Well, thanks for listening. And if any of you have any opinions on stories we may not have mentioned from 2018, send us an email, eastendersweekly@gmail.com. And of course, you can find us on Twitter @EastEndersWeek, Instagram EastEnders Weekly Podcast, or join our Facebook group. Just look for EastEnders Weekly Podcast. And let us know your grade of the year as well. We'd love to know what you thought.
A to D to F.
A to F, yeah. The old system, the best system. Anyway, thanks for listening, and...
see you soon.